couple of notes from practice that we saw yesterday. Mike McCarthy and Schottenheimer were always talking about building a foundation and working off of that, and creating different looks off of foundations. Me and Will Steele were, and y'all need to check his show out in the morning, A to Z Dallas on YouTube, 8:30 to 10:30. We were looking at some install period where they were putting together these different motion packages, right? I've heard people call them like an orbit motion or something like that, but it's where a receiver, they'll come in and motion in front of Dak and end up behind Dak, right? And me and Will were talking about the possibilities that you could pull out of that formation. You know what I'm saying? Or pull out of that set of motions. Like if it's quarterback, Tony's next to me, and there's a wide receiver that's motioning to really end up right here, but he's really going behind me. You can run triple option stuff. You can run bubble tosses. You can run regular read option stuff. You can run speed option stuff. You can run RPOs. You can get Dak going in the run game. And we saw a whole bunch of that. You know, Turpin was a guy that was into the motion. Brandon Cooks was a guy that was into the motion. CD was a motion guy. Deuce Vaughn was a motion guy. You know, and the one thing that I noticed is all these guys that were the motion guy, that they were fast. They could pretty much run. We didn't do that motion with any tight ends. We really didn't do the motion with Gallup or anything like that. We did this motion with the runners. Like Rico Dowdle didn't do any of the motion. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's something we need to look forward to in terms of what's going to be like some of the base fundamental stuff of this offense, right? And we already know the basic West Coast functions of the offense, but hey, we're gonna add some other things just to keep guys on their toes. And I think this would be a good way just to get auxiliary players involved into your offense, right? Like, hey, if Turpin can't get it done on a wide receiver level, we need to find a way to get Turpin involved. We need to find a way to get Deuce Vaughn involved if Tony's going to be running back one. Speaking of Deuce Vaughn, work on Deuce Vaughn's so different, bro. It's a handful of guys that are just so different when you watch them. You can watch Deuce on TV. You can watch Brandon Cooks on TV. You can watch, CeeDee Lamb on TV. All of these guys, especially Tony Pollard. You can watch these dudes on television, mira la television. And you be like, oh, man, they run fast. But, man, when you see these dudes in person, man, these dudes is flying, bro. These dudes is flying. But speaking of which, right, I'm up here looking at Deuce Vaughn, and the more Deuce Vaughn touches the football, it just get more and more clear. It gets more and more clear that this dude has to be one of the guys. Moses Ramirez says, you right there at the start? It's right there. It's right there. Win the Omni, my guy. Appreciate you. It's clear that Deuce Vaughn has to get the football, bro. He has to be a part of this offense somehow. When I was watching Deuce, I was like, man, you know how this is going to end up going. Deuce isn't running back two. Rico Dowdle is running back two, but Deuce is like a 12th starter. I've talked about the 12 starter theory or whatever. But on defense, right? What it's really going to be is Tony's your RB1. Deuce Vaughn is some type of RB1B, and Rico Dowdle is going to be your RB2, right? I can see Deuce Vaughn being on the field with Tony. I don't see a world where Rico Dowdle is going to be on the field with Tony, but I can also see Rico on the field with Deuce. You see what I'm saying? We saw some 21 personnel stuff. Well, pardon me. Yeah. Cool. I saw some 21 personnel stuff, some 20 personnel stuff. Basically, having two running backs on the field at the same time, and I feel like when people were, when they wanted to get into these 20 looks, these 21 looks, they wanted, or just two back looks. I feel like they wanted to see. I felt like they wanted to see Tony and Zeke on the field when they wanted to see these looks. And that's, that was the thing, but anytime Zeke got the ball, I just didn't see burst out of him, right? So some people wanted to see Tony and Zeke on the field at the same time because of some type of thunder and lightning type deal. I never saw this world where I wanted Zeke on the field with Tony Pollard. Because I felt like Tony, and this was actually by some numbers, Bobby Belt posted these numbers one time. Tony was actually a worse running back with Zeke on the field. Tony was just much better when he was on the field as just the sole alone running back. He was just the guy. So that's one thing. But Tony and Deuce on the field at the same time is gonna be something totally different. Tony and Deuce on the field at the same time is gonna be something totally different. So one thing I think needs to happen in terms of like an acclimation period. Um, one thing that needs to happen in terms of an acclimation period is we need to get used to throwing the ball to Deuce Vaughn because he's short. Deuce Vaughn a little bitty, right? So the idea of having to throw the ball to him and and the ball not be overthrown, that's an issue. You know what I'm saying? When you see Deuce, like he'll be in the slot and he'll run like a little bubble thing and we'll throw the ball to him, but the ball will be kind of high and Deuce had to jump up to get it. Deuce is a fantastic receiver, but the ball got to be right on him. You know what I'm saying? Deuce ain't really got a catch radius. Deuce ain't really, he's not jump ball guy in that way. He's jump ball guy in the way that he has to catch the ball somehow. Like he has to go up and get he has to go up and receive the ball somehow. But the problem with it is that is that hey, we just can't be wasting plays like that, right? So Dak threw the ball like a little high for Deuce one time, but hey, Dak pulled Deuce to the side and was like boom, 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 bam, bam, bam. And they just talked about it for a little while. They just figured it out, They just, hey, Deuce, boom, boom, boom. So also too, there's this play, and whenever this comes out and my volume guys do the little edits or whatever, there was this one play where Dak handed the ball off to Deuce, and Dak had to hold the ball like real low for Deuce. He caught the snap and he held the ball real low for Deuce, for Deuce to be able to get the carry or whatever. So I thought that was fun, but that's just something that you're gonna have to do. That's something that you're gonna have to do to get Deuce involved because he's clearly one of the best running backs on your team. So it is what it is. Jalen Tolbert had a cool little day. He got going with the ones and the twos. Whenever Dak's throwing the ball to anybody, they seem to be a little better. But when Cooper Rush throwing the ball to Jalen Tolbert, it's really a party out here. Two more things I can wrap this thing up for y'all. Well, Dak had a pretty good day, and then there's two more things I can wrap up for y'all. Trevon Diggs, man. I think people need to stop looking at Trevon Diggs as if he's just some type of, as if he's only a playmaker, but he can't cover. You know what I'm saying? We can't just look at Trey Diggs as a dude that, well, yeah, he's gonna give up 1,000 yards, and even that's false. Even that's made up. Even that's nonsense, right? We can't look at this world where we just don't look at Trey Diggs as a cover guy. Trey Diggs is a cover guy. He just happens to also be go get ball guy. He just also happens to be ball hog guy. When you see Trey Diggs in these red zone clips, in these red zone coveraging clips, and I think this has a lot to do with like Gilmore just being like a type of just some type of like mentor for him, some type of big brother, some type of coach guy for him, right? To just help him through the process. And you just see Trey a lot more patient. You just see Trey recognizing routes a little better. Plus Trey got arm length. You know what I'm saying? Trey got arm length to where even if you do maybe get a step on him, he can make the adjustment and just give it a good swipe. Then there's the ball skills on top of that, man. Trey was so impressive. Me, Wood, Still, Law Nation. We were sitting in the corner watching Trey do one-on-ones down there. Come on, man. It's top tier stuff, man. Top tier stuff. One last thing that I think is very important. The young guys. We're talking about young offensive line right now. So what's happened with the offensive line, right, is we saw Josh Ball, Asim Richards, and TJ Bass, right? We saw the combination of those guys just moving around all day. But there was this team period at the end. It was like ones versus ones. And we saw some of the older veteran players off to the back jogging and shit, right? Now, what that means to me is that the old dudes are trying to condition themselves and they're trying to stay in shape and things like that, while not trying to get hurt in regular practice, right? So Zach was out there, D-Law was maybe out there, and Tyron. So there was a hole at left tackle and right guard. And Will Steele told this story earlier, so y'all please go watch him. They called for the first team offense. Asim Richards came out at left tackle, TJ Bass came out at right guard, and they ran many first team offensive plays with TJ Bass and Asim Richards in there. And it was fly, and it was gangster, and I loved it because I like Asim Richards and I like TJ Bass, and I especially like TJ Bass more than the other dude. And when did the other dude come out? Other dude came out when they called for second team offense, right? So how it looks, the pecking order, how it looks right now is Zach Martin, TJ Bass, Josh Ball. That means Josh Ball might be getting cut, so work on.
KD